Because we've had so much craziness with all these entitled parents, I thought we deserve a bit more laughter. So we're back already with our second Today I F'd Up. On today's episode of Today I F'd Up, a fellow employee gets their big break. A marketing worker tries to help them look better by editing their professional photograph. He didn't realize how much trouble this would get him into. A mother tries to keep up with other mothers at a weekly playgroup by teaching her baby sign language, only to end up with a hilarious result. Trying to help another person out by giving them a lift, a man goes on a strange journey that confuses him and shocks his family. Don't forget to like, subscribe, bell, and let's get straight into it. This story is called Today I F'd Up by trying to edit a headshot without permission. HR is involved. I work in a corporate environment in the marketing department. A portion of what I do is handling the corporate website. One of our mid-level professionals, I'll call her Gina, has recently published an excellent research paper that is topical, relevant, and insightful. It's a pretty big deal for her professionally, and the company as a whole. Every year we get professional headshots done to feature in corporate documents. It's one guy who does every office and he's usually pretty good, but with 800 staff and unrealistic deadlines, he'll do color correction, but no retouching. So Gina's paper is being published and I'm called on to do all the marketing around it. This includes getting professional hard copies of the document, a social media strategy, and some conference speaking work. The thing is, Gina's headshot is a little off. As a thumbnail it's fine, but when it's zoomed in, you can see a definite mustache. Not a little, maybe she ate a chocolate donut for lunch mo, but a lip full of whiskers that you'd expect to see on a 90-year-old woman who enjoys hitting children with her walking stick. So I can't exactly call up and ask if I should do something about this, as it's not really a conversation I want to have. And I'm also not known as the most tactful person. I'm very familiar with Photoshop and I use it all the time. I've got no graphic design qualifications though, so I'm very slow by comparison. So I go about just blending and masking her whiskers a bit. I'm zoomed right in on her mouth and clean up the zone. I work in an open office, but not many people are in my immediate area. Still, it's not something I want to embarrass her about. So anytime someone walks by, I Alt-Tab to a different screen, or move the pic to a different area. Lo and behold, Gina decides to drop by with her feedback on the printed draft that she's marked up. As she comes by, I hear her footsteps and hit the scroll wheel on my mouse. She comes in and freezes, asks what I'm doing. I say I'm just tweaking a picture, and when I look at my own screen, it's zoomed right in on her cleavage. She gets louder and asks what the heck I'm doing fixing her chest area. She then asks if I'm making her breasts bigger or doing something shady. For some reason, I decide to avoid telling her the truth and just say I'm evening out the skin tone. She dumps the hard copy draft and walks away. About an hour later, I get an email from HR saying that I need to stop working on this project and come in for an interview. I ask if I can speak privately first and explain the situation. I still get in a lot of trouble for fixing an image without her consent, and that Gina is more than her appearance, and a suggestion that it's sexist to try and make her prettier. I acknowledge that, but also mention that I tidy up all images that are going to be blown up, men and women alike. But to be honest, I am trying to get out of the awkwardness. We have the meeting, and I had to explain the whole thing to Gina directly. She is adamant that she doesn't have a mustache, and to be fair, while sitting there, she doesn't. She sorted that out in the days between the pic and this event. She then goes on to suggest that I altered the picture to add the lip hair as an excuse for staring at her chest. Worth noting here, she wasn't dressed provocatively or anything, just normal corporate wear. I then had to get the photographer to resend the originals to the HR rep, and they indeed show her lip bristles. She's still livid, and HR suggests that I should jump off this project. I'm actually a bit concerned as to where this leaves me going forward, as she does have a bit of influence. I told my boss the whole story and he's assured me I'll be fine, in between being sympathetic and stifling his laughter at my misfortune. Being stuck in one of those awkward situations where truth is sometimes worse than a lie is really difficult. Which is the worst thing to do? tell the truth and hurt her feelings? Or lie to try and be kind and gentle? What would you do? Let me know down below. This story was called Today I Effed Up by Teaching My Baby Sign Language. I go to this mommy and me thing every week with my daughter. Not because it's my kind of thing, but because my mother-in-law paid the membership for a year as a Christmas gift to my 1-year-old. AKA, she doesn't think I am socializing her grandchild enough, and this is her way of passive-aggressively correcting my parenting. Anyways, we go to this thing every week for an hour, and all the Pinterest moms are planning themed birthday parties and discussing screen time and sharing gluten-free recipes while their kids stare at each other. But all these kids know sign language, and I thought that was pretty darn cool, so I start looking into this and try teaching my kids some basic signs for basic needs. And it's working. Suddenly, my tiny human, who otherwise could not effectively communicate with me, knows how to say more and all done and drink. She can call me mum and my husband dad. Thanks, Pinterest moms. I take back all that crap I talked about you to my kid on our weekly drives home. Well, today with my husband out of town, I didn't feel much like cooking, and since my daughter is pretty laid back at restaurants, I decided to go out for a quick dinner. The kid loves French fries, and so do I, so we hit the local burger joint and order a beer, a burger with fries, and a side of fruit. The server brings a little styrofoam cup with a lid and straw filled with water for my daughter, and I set it out of her reach so she doesn't Hulk smash the styrofoam and make a mess. So, of course, every time she wants some, she signs drink, and every time she wants my attention, she signs dad, because apparently the slightly different sign for mum isn't as fun for her. Okay, whatever. Well, I notice a couple of tables away, there are two women who are also signing to each other, but they're looking over at us and snickering. I'm like, okay, I did like 4 quick Google searches. Maybe I botched some of what I taught her? It's fine. But then, as the women are leaving, they stop by our table, and one of them lays her iPhone down with a message typed out for me to read. It says something to the effect of, she's calling you dumb and telling you she wants to drink alcohol. I'm like, wait, what? So she continues to show me that I have in fact taught my daughter the wrong signs, that there are different signs for drink, non-alcoholic beverage, and drink alcohol. And by balling up her fist instead of using a flat hand at her forehead, my daughter has been calling me dumb instead of dad, which was already wrong obviously since I am her mum. I can only imagine what the Pinterest mums would have done had I shown up next week with my kid asking to drink liquor. I'm just trying to imagine this baby from the two women's perspective. You just got this baby there going, hey you dummy, give me some more alcohol. And you'd have to think, okay, they're either the worst parents ever that for some reason bothered to teach their kids sign language, or maybe they're just lazy and got it wrong. This story was called Today I Effed Up by Picking Up a Hitchhiker. This happened a few years ago, and I was living in Zimbabwe at the time, and I was having a pretty bad day. I was going to see my auntie, who lived about 400 kilometers away from me. If you're African, you'll understand that this was no small journey. So I got into my car and set off, and about 3 hours into the journey, I came across a dude by the side of the road who was going in the same direction. So out of the goodness of my heart, I said, jump in. We got to talking, and he happened to be going to the exact same village as me, and he knew my auntie. Half an hour passes and we're making polite chit-chat and reminiscing about old times in Zimbabwe when, all of a sudden, he tells me to pull over. So I do. He runs out of the car and starts making retching noises, so I assume he's throwing up. It's dark at this point, so I can't really see much, so I go check on him. First mistake. I get out and go to his side, expecting him to be there, but he's not. Then I hear someone behind me, and before I know it, I'm unconscious. So I wake up a couple of hours later. I know this because the sun was coming up at this point, without my car, clothes, or wallet. So I'm thinking, great. I look around me and see I'm on some farmland wearing this guy's clothes. So I start walking in no particular direction and eventually come across a settlement. I explain to them my situation, and they tell me that the nearest main road is at least a good half a day's walk from where I am, and they don't get many cars coming through this part, but they heard one last night, which might be our thief. I start walking in the direction they point me in, and after what felt like forever, I come across a road. So I pitch up and start waiting. Now I know most of you are thinking, why not call someone? I had no phone with me and don't have the best memory, so I didn't know any numbers that would come in handy. After a couple of hours, a car stops and lets me hitch. I let him know the situation, and he says we're in the complete opposite direction of my intended destination, but he's willing to drop me close enough to walk the rest of the way. To which I thought, great. It takes a good 2 days to get there, and he drops me off and I say my goodbyes to the driver. I take down his number so I can repay him later on. At this point, I'm starting to recognize my surroundings. I walk a few miles, and as I'm getting closer to my auntie's, I can hear there's lots of singing and what appears to be a large crowd, which I thought was strange. I'm about 100 feet from the house, and I see my son, which again I thought was strange because he was meant to be in school at this time. But instead of running to me and hugging me as he normally does, he runs away screaming to my complete bewilderment. I get to the gate, and all of a sudden, the large crowd, alerted by my son's scream, has stopped singing and stood silent. My wife appears and starts to run towards me, hugging and kissing me like I've been gone for months. My auntie appears and immediately faints when she sees me. I still have no clue what's going on at this point, and I'm exhausted. So we rush to get my auntie inside, and I see my picture on top of a large box that resembles a coffin sitting in the living room. So it turns out that the guy who robbed me and made off with my car, my wallet, and all of my clothes was in a car crash, so bad that they couldn't identify the body. And because the only things they could use to identify him was my wallet, they assumed that it was me that had died in the crash. Since there was no body of sorts, they could arrange the funeral pretty quickly, and that is what I stumbled upon. My son still has nightmares to this day, and my wife has told me never to pick up a hitchhiker ever again. This story was called "Today I F'd Up by Swallowing My Sister's Birthday Present." I am so beside myself with shame that I almost couldn't bring myself to post this. But Reddit karma is my mistress, and I must heed her sweet call. So yesterday was my sister's birthday. I was waking up from a dead, night shift worker-induced sleep when my teenage sister wandered into my room to proudly boast of her garnered treasures. "Look what Mum gave me," said my poor sister, unaware of what was about to happen, as she placed her pretty golden ring with her birthstone into my palm. Now I cannot stress enough that what happened next took nothing more than a split second. I looked at that ring in my hand, and I just got this image of me throwing back my head and swallowing the damn thing like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. My primitive ape brain said, "Funny joke." So I did it. I think it was the next split second when I saw the horror in my sister's eyes and felt the ring slide past my gullet that I realized what a horrible mistake I had made. So my little sister runs screaming from my room, and I hobble out as well, head bowed in repentance and eyes brimming with shame, as I admitted that I, a 20-year-old grown woman, had swallowed my little sister's ring. No, I don't know why I did it. Yes, I am an idiot. No one was amused and everyone was very mad, which is very understandable. So, brief intermission from my sister's birthday, as I make a quick excursion to the ER, where my story is once again not found funny by anyone and is met with either stern disapproval or a remarkable sense of passivity. Like you could see in their eyes they had seen endless crap, and to them I was just a simple drop in the ocean of human stupidity. They took a couple x-rays and I hung around the ER for about 8 hours before they broke the news that I was going to live, much to my mother's chagrin, and to go home and wait for nature to take its course. I pooped out the ring this morning. Happy birthday, sis. If you'd like your story to be narrated by me, don't forget to visit the subreddit r/VoiceyHere, link below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.